we rip into another edition of the show, and I know it's hard to believe that another winter season has passed. We slip the highlights right by you because you know that's always our goal. Coach O always checking out the best angles as we spin one of the best highlights your way. Let's celebrate. Sports Night is next.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Sports Night. I'm Joe Young.
And I'm Howie Shapiro. Joe, we're tying a bow on it tonight.
Yeah, it's not the season a lot of teams had hoped for, but, all seasons come to an end. We'll have a couple of weeks before baseball season and softball season gets going as we get rid of the snow, our newly acquired snow, but the temp's going to be in the mid-40s this week.
I'll melt some of that.
Rain next week up into the high 40s,
Yep.
So spring is not that far away. But we have a little bit of business to take care of. The boys' basketball season came to an end last Wednesday with a loss to top-seeded Andover in the section quarterfinals. The Cardinals knew they would need every player on the roster to have their best game if they hoped to survive. But the Huskies took the lead early and ran away with another convincing victory. Coach Agoric has a lot of respect for this Andover squad, calling them one of the best teams he's seen in the section in his 10 years as coach. And their pressure and hustle helps them grab the early lead. Great save by Landon Nelson on the baseline. Then Musungu finds Chase Pemberton with an open look for three. Andover up by double digits midway through the first half. And they never give up. Ben Kopetsky blocked by Kenny Jones. Right here, great block by Jones, but he doesn't give it up. He steals it right back, gets the basket and the foul. Andover leads by as much as 18 in the first half. Cardinals getting more of their shots to fall late in the first. Jackson Young had 3 three-pointers before the break and finished with team-high 13. He added a couple of assists, including this cross-court look to Jerry Jones. He hits another from beyond the arc. The Huskies always have the answer. Another 3 late in the half, this one for Kenny Jones. Cardinals had 6 three-pointers in the first half, but still trailed 50-34 at the break. Cardinals can't cut into the lead in the second. This one is mishandled. Sam Musungu takes advantage, taking it to the rim. 2 of his game-high 22 points. Kopetsky has had his way with the Cardinals every meeting this season, and he slices through the defense here on the way to another 20-point game. Andover outscored the Cardinals 31-5 to start the second half. Kopetsky with a great feed to Luke Deneke at the rim. Huskies win in running time 97-48, the final.
Yeah, that Andover team, as Coach Agoric said, really, really solid. And they're solid on both ends of the court. Obviously they score a lot of points, but defensively I thought they played really well. And Coon Rapids just couldn't get any kind of rhythm. And, they've had a tough season and they couldn't
They had that end of the first half where they got some shots to fall. They did have 6 three-pointers.
They did, absolutely.
But when you're already down by 20, you need to stop as well as get those big baskets.
No question.
And Andover is on their way to the finals. They did beat Anoka a little bit closer than the Cardinal game, but they put up 99 points again. Duluth East upset by Cambridge Isani. So the Blue Jackets trying to put on the glass slipper against the Huskies on Wednesday night to see who should go to the state tournament. Huskies trying to repeat as section champions. And, we talked about it, a couple of injuries for the basketball team. For the boys, the big departures midseason definitely changed how this season went. And they end the season without any seniors.
Nope.
A lot of younger guys that stepped into roles they didn't expect to have at the beginning of the year. Forced to kind of grow up a little bit faster, become a little bit bigger part of the team at an earlier age. And I thought a handful of those guys really responded well. They had 3 guys averaging double digits at the end of the year. Jerry Freeman really showed great improvement, both as a scorer, but also as a point guard and a distributor. Some very pretty looks like that one right there to Belpedio. But he can score. He can, kind of take the team on his back when he needs to.
He can.
Jeremy Hetwer,
Jackson.
Hetwer, my bad. Hetwer definitely is a dangerous shooter. He averaged over 10 points a game. So they'll have a good foundation coming back next year. Jackson Young, I think, exceeded all expectations.
Yes.
as a sophomore coming in, especially the first half of the year. And then, I mean, what more can be said about this? Kenny Jones, three-quarter court shot for the Cardinals to end a 9-game losing streak. But at the buzzer, it was that was just such a cool shot, and I'm glad we had a camera there, and it's gotten plenty of airtime.
Yes, we've seen it over and over and over again, and I could continue to see it over and over again. You know, it was a tough season, to say the least, for the boys basketball program, but you talked about it. You are correct. There's a lot of young kids that grew up this season, and you know, it's only going to help them for next year, and obviously they're going to have to continue to hone their skills. They're going to have to develop their game. I know a lot of them will play some summer balls, some AAU ball, and they'll get an opportunity to continue to grow, and that's what they're looking for. I mean, you know, you've got some of those youngsters that were forced to come off the bait, like Tegan Plowman Tate. You know, he played well in spurts. So there's some good things for this program next season.
They need more size.
They do need more size.
You can't really grow that in the off season. You hope a couple of guys have growth spurts. Connor Jordan has a little bit of size.
6'5".
You know, so you know, put a little more beef on him, and he could be a contender down low. Tegan Plowman Tate's a nice long player.
Absolutely.
He's got long levers. He can maybe play that top point if they play the 1-3-1. But if you know, he's going to bang around underneath again.
He needs to put some meat on him as well.
Some steak and potatoes over the summer,
Yes.
but lots and lots of extra basketball and extra sports for any team. It's always where the improvement comes, is in the off season. Girls team, just one win all season. It did come against Minneapolis Washburn, which I did say early in the year.
And me.
If you're going to have just one win, please let it be against Washburn. I really wished that they had been able to score a little more and gotten a little more confidence, but talking to Coach Bierman, he knew, and the girls knew coming in. Totally new program, doing a lot of different things both on and off the court, how they play, how they practice, systems they run. So it was a lot of learning on the fly, and a pretty young team. And Coach Bierman talked about, before the section game when we were talking about him, he talked about his seniors, and he said, you know, there's a couple of seniors who have played with us up at varsity, but he was even more impressed with those that knew from the start they would not get on a varsity floor, but they turned into extra coaches for him, for the younger kids on the B squad, and to have that kind of leadership and selflessness from your seniors who say, I'm going to still come out and try and help this team become better, even if it's not by what I actually contribute on the court. That says a lot about the character, and that's hopefully a really good thing for this program moving forward. They got a lot of, again, young players that spent a lot of time on the varsity court.
You can't say enough about the fact that these young players got those quality minutes at the varsity level. And Coach Bierman talked to us from the beginning of the season. He says, this year isn't just really about this year. This year is about this year and the next couple years ahead. So they're building seeds. They're growing this program. And obviously, would you like to get more than one win? Yes, quite for sure. There's no doubt about that. However, they're just trying to build a program up from where they came from a year ago.
And there you see your 5 seniors: Alex Schmidt, Malia Dean, Faith Crick, Caitlin Caminati, and Emily Snicker. And in his email, he said, you know, Kaylee Bierman did end up earning NWSC honorable mention.
Yep.
But he said the motto this year was "Be the change." The motto next year will be "Why not us?"
Exactly.
So they're hoping to take a large leap in their progression next season.
Hey, there's nowhere to go but up for this program.
Wrestling team, historically one of the most dominant programs at Coon Rapids High School. The last few years, they've been hit hard, especially post-COVID. The wrestling team was suffered some heavy losses to COVID because it's a very close contact sport, and you have to constantly be reloading and you know, recruiting new kids to come and build your program. Well, they came in this year. They had lighter numbers, but they were pretty happy with the guys that they had. Unfortunately, so many injuries. It did end with Carter Skradsky and Jack Bridenstine both going to state. and both will be back. Jack Bridenstine, just a freshman. Skradsky, just a junior. Bridenstine was 36-8 this year. So, but then you look at the guys that, because of all those injuries, and it was a laundry list. You lost guys like Kenny Wells, a junior who's a 2-year captain already, and a big force. I think he wrestles at about 180. Your heavyweight, Hayden Skillings, is a freshman last year. Really, gave him a little bit of a look like, hey, here may be the next Gavin Layton to be that heavyweight to anchor your program. And then he didn't make it through the season. And there's a number of other guys that were injured during the season. So very tough for a team that was already lacking in depth a little bit to try and get through that. They had some matches where they only had 2 or 3 guys that were able to go out on the varsity mat.
Yeah, and talking to Coach Adams throughout the season and, the few times that we were able to go see them, he talked about the fact that he's never experienced a season with these amount of injuries. And you and I always check the guillotine, and to not see Coon Rapids, at least in the lean and mean, is unusual. So this is a year that I know they'll put behind them. They'll hope to get some of the guys healthier, and then coming back for next season, as you mentioned, they've got some guys that have contributed this past season, and they hope to get that program again going in the right direction.
There are your seniors, Jaden Caffey, Hunter Allen, who was a captain, all conference, 3rd in sections, finished 22-11 with 12 pins.
He had a good year.
And he's one of those guys that battled through some injuries this year. Jacob Shear, Griffin Tom, and Nathan Caminati. Tom and Caminati both came out as seniors the first time they've ever wrestled. Caminati ended up injuring his shoulder and not being able to finish the season. Just getting guys like that, getting athletes to fill out the schedule or fill out the roster is great. They'd like to see some more guys that have been doing it since they were little, who spend their whole summers the way that Skradsky and Wells do, is going to every tournament that they can, just looking to get better so that they can be, ready to take a shot for a state title.
Yeah, and the feeder system for this program has always been very good. So they hope some of the younger kids that are starting to get a little more experience now will be able to step up and help them next season.
Well, an even bigger loss for the wrestling program will be the loss of Coach Bob Adams.
Yep.
He has announced that he will be retiring after this season, and we will definitely miss him here at CTN. He has been a great friend to us. And what a wonderful job he's done with the program over the last 25 plus years.
Somehow, though, I feel that's not that we're going to still see him around the gym next year as well. But just I have that feeling.
You
can't stay away.
We shall see.
Yep.
Gymnastics team, we talked about it again at the beginning of the year. Their numbers were so light that they weren't going to be able to field the team. They were able to go out and recruit and get some girls out, get enough numbers to fill out their roster, but then they too dealt with a long list of injuries throughout the season. It did mean some of the younger girls that were newer to the team stepped into bigger roles earlier, and the scores were not where they had hoped to get them. I think they topped out at about 113, 114, and they were hoping they could get back into the 120s.
Right.
And it's a work in progress. And this was a strong senior class, especially Ada Drummy and Cecilia Arilli, who have been huge parts of this program for the last 3+ seasons. Lily Newton also, both Drummy and Arilli were all conference. Lily Newton, honorable mention. Erica Cotto and Princess Wagner are the other 2 seniors. Wagner, I know, was one of those that was injured throughout the season, and that limited her time on the mat. But, in conversations and emails with Coach Diane Habel, she was really excited about the enthusiasm that the younger, especially middle school girls, were showing for the program. They came in, they were new, they didn't really know, what to do, what was expected of them, any of that, and by the end they were chomping at the bit to get better and improve and add new skills and see what they could do about getting those numbers back into the 120s.
Well, yeah, and the impressive part for me was that they were able to recruit and they were able to fill a squad. And yeah, were they disappointed that they weren't able to get into the 120s? Yes, and that's something for them to continue to build on and work for next season. However, you gotta feel that if there's an opportunity to recruit this year, there's also an opportunity to recruit next year and the year after.
Well, and I think they might get on that recruiting trip a little bit earlier.
Yeah, I would think so.
So, swimming and diving, just a handful of seniors for the Cardinals there as well, but they too will be losing their leader as Coach Doug Donaldson has announced that he will be stepping away as the head coach of both boys and girls swimming programs to focus on family, as his wife just gave birth to the couple's first child, a daughter born late February. So congratulations to him. But he's done a great job with this program, and with the addition of the Totino Grace kids a couple of years ago, and that certainly has helped. The Totino Grace kids, it means they have a team to swim for, and for Coon Rapids, it's that extra little depth piece to make them a little bit more competitive with some of the top level programs in the conference that seem to always reload and have these immense numbers and great depth, because we've talked about it for ages. It's always good to have a first place finish, but it's those second, third, fourth place finishes that really make the difference for the team when you add it all up.
Well, and like Coach Adams, we're certainly going to miss Coach Donaldson. So many things that I'll miss about his enthusiasm for the sport. I'll miss his emails for sure, because they're the best, and I can make sure it was a highlight of my week when he sent those emails, able to read them, and just you could tell the excitement in his voice while he's writing these, and so he has a love for the program, and I'm sure he'll be around the pool deck every once in a while.
Well, and they'll lose a couple of all-conference swimmers, Frank Denton and Nate Larson, both all-conference. Evan Barden, Tommy Bellamy, and Anthony Roller are the others. But some notable returners as well, guys like Jackson Lang, and of course, Mitch Tronson, who qualified and went to state in the 200 IM, will be a senior. So they've got a couple of those other leaders who were getting them a lot of points this season who will be back. And it will be interesting, but a little bit sad to walk into the school, into the pool deck next season, and know that it's not Coach Donaldson.
Yep.
His interviews were epic. He had
the best.
Always had golden sound bites. I could ask him one question and be done, but I typically ask 3 or 4, and he'd give really long answers for each one, and each one I could use four different pieces out of him. He just had great things to say, and always very positive about his kids, the program, the school, the community. So he will be greatly missed.
Well, and when we do a telecast, we're always appreciative of the fact that he came up during diving and he sat in with us, kind of broke it down, talked a little bit about things that we don't really know a lot about in terms of swimming.
Which is most everything.
Which is most everything. But the fact that he was able to come up with us, and the three of us had fun just working together. So we'll certainly miss that.
Nordic ski teams, boys will lose a fair amount.
Yep.
Girls, absolutely nothing. The girls are all underclassmen. Highlights of the season for Nordic ski team is that Aaron Casey went to state, qualified for the pursuit, and then you had 2 sprint relay teams, Albie Ludwig and Lachlan Demmer for the boys, Ruby Demmer and Stella Bone for the girls. That qualified for state. So pretty cool to see that. There you see your all-conference award winners. And these are the honorable mentions, I believe. But boys are going to be hit hard. Aaron Casey had a great year, finished his senior year very strong, all-conference state qualifier. Peyton Martinick, I think has been a member of this program since he was a 7th grader, if I'm not mistaken. So he's been around a long time on that in the program. Orion Carter, Anthony Ludwig, Nathan Borns, Tristan Brendy Prins, Cal Jensvold and Kevin Shea are the seniors. And again, not only do the girls not have any seniors, they have 1 junior, 3 sophomores, 8 freshmen.
That's crazy.
And they have 5 in middle school.
So obviously the girls program, they have a lot coming back, and which will be great. The boys program gives now an opportunity for some of those younger guys to step up to replace those seniors.
Demmer and Bone,
Yep.
an 8th grader and a 9th
Yeah,
grader that made that sprint relay team. So they should be fun to watch. And the boys, I think they have enough coming back where they're going to be kind of in that same position, trying to be competitive. And they were actually this year. The boys, I thought, did really well when they skied against certain teams.
Right.
When you have those top level teams in the conference, makes it harder. But when you have those they split the Northwest Suburban in half because it's so gigantic. When you're skiing against the lower half, they looked really good.
They did.
Against the top half, they held their own. So the boys will be hit kind of hard by graduation. Girls will not. But it's all about what an off season can do as far as training and building strength and endurance. Alpine ski teams, of course, we don't get to see them because they're over in, way too far away for our camera cords to stretch. But we do appreciate the coach Lauren Green kept us up to date, and here are her seniors. Adam Sartwell and Joe Van Norman for the boys, 2 of the top boys almost every meet. Carly Hafferman was absolutely the top girl on the score sheet every week for the Cardinals. She is is All-State honorable mention. So is Jalen Staley. Zoe Scheck, Nina Weimholt, and Sydney Meyer are the other Cardinals. And the great thing for that was just a couple years ago, they didn't have enough kids to field the whole team, especially on the girls' side. And now they're getting better numbers out. More numbers, more interest leads to better results.
Yeah, and the kids on the team are talking to their friends who aren't on the team and have an interest maybe in coming out.
Well, I tell
and
you
they
what,
recruit.
if you like to downhill ski, you get a lot of time on the slopes for a very minimal price by joining the ski team. Moving back to the indoor hockey rink, boys hockey team had a very solid year. They got their first playoff win in over 20 years. I believe it was their first win over Blaine this season in about that same period, in about 20 years. Finished just below 500, 12 wins, 13 losses, 2 ties. They beat Cloquet-Esco Carleton twice, including that section quarterfinal, which was a minor upset of 5 over a 4. They have a couple of seniors who were definite contributors to this year's team and will be missed, but they have a lot coming back. Next year, the cupboards will be stocked because that junior group, which includes Bowden and Barsness and Kish and Tyson and Bresnahan and Bush, and the list goes on. That junior group is really, really good. So next year is going to be their year to really shine and try and see how high they can take this Cardinal club. But getting that first playoff win in 20 years was huge.
And I thought they had a fun season. We saw them quite a bit, and they too suffered a couple of key injuries.
Back to back.
2 of their top 6 scorers out. Relatively early in the season, or
back to back in the same week.
Yeah. But they were fun to watch, and I thought Leonard did a nice job in goal, for this season, and he kept them in a lot of games, and as you mentioned, the experience that they garnered this year only can make them better for next year to come, and I think that's something that they're shooting for.
So you lose Nate Cleansing, leading defensive scorer in school history with 42 points in his career. Nick Espinoza, who had a 7-game point streak late in the season. Bennett Moe, Gavin Anderson, Mikey Alton, Peyton Leet are the seniors. But the returners, wow, Barsness 56 points, Bowden 39, Alphin 36,
Incredible.
Tyson 32. Kish had 22 points in 19 games before he was injured. And Engberg was not far off a point a game when he was injured as well. Bresnahan and Bush will really give them a good start on the blue line.
Yep.
And Wagner, as you mentioned, proved to be very solid in that.
He definitely was.
Well, the girls hockey team won in the section tournament for the second year in a row. First couple years of the co-op with Champlain Park, they couldn't make it past the quarterfinals. Now they've done it 2 years in a row, and the group they lose will be hard to replace. I was really impressed with some of the young players that came in this year, including Tessa Bowden right there. None maybe more so than Sydney Bernovic right there, who had some ridiculous streak, like 18 straight games with a point or something. Just, I mean, no player should be able to do that, really, especially not a freshman, but she came on huge. But there's one of your seniors you're going to miss. Here's another one in Kylie Scott. Kylie Scott has been so much fun to watch throughout her career.
She has.
She finishes with 3rd all-time in career points. Brooklyn Johnson right behind her in 4th all-time in career points. Had the most wins in the history of the program. This is, again, year 6, I believe, of the co-op now. Went 10-2-2 from the holiday tournament into the playoffs.
They played really well.
That is a heck of a streak.
Yeah, and they were a lot of fun to watch. And Coach Getty always had some. It was fun. It was fun chatting with him because he really knows this game quite obviously, and he was really happy with what the girls were doing this season. And as we talked about, they really were successful, and they did a really nice job. But they're going to miss some key. But they will miss some key seniors coming back.
100%. Yeah. You got Scott and Johnson, who were. Scott, they were both all conference. Kylie Scott, the first Champlain Park Coon Rapids team player to be given an all-state honorable mention, and definitely deserving of that honor. So those two are all conference. Emma Olson came up with a big goal against Maple Grove in the playoffs. Shelby Julian, and of course Cam Singh, who transferred over from Blaine and was a big part of the team this year as well. Riley Busing is the final senior. But key returners, Lily McKenzie led the team in scoring. Sydney Bernovic, just a freshman, number 2 on the team in scoring with 32 points. Kylie Oswegan had 18 points on the blue line, and she's another big, tall defenseman who's got good speed and good stick skills. So, I mean, big shoes to fill when you talk about stepping up for Kylie Scott, but Kylie Oswegan has shown she might be ready to take on that task. Kylie Ketting and Tessa Bowden also finishing with double-digit points this year, too. So they'll have a fair amount coming back.
They will.
And Coach Gutterman, I've been so impressed with him in the last couple of seasons since he's taken over. Every time I see him around the ice, I like him even more as a hockey coach.
Me too. He's just so much fun to talk to, and he's such a great guy. And he's done, as you mentioned, he's done so many nice things with this program.
Well, that is going to do it for the winter season on Sports Night. We certainly want to thank everybody out there for joining us and continuing to support everything we do here at CTN. To the entire crew, including Howie Shapiro, I'm Joe Young, saying good night.